Hello and welcome to America in Focus, powered by the Center Square. I'm Dan McCaleb, Chief Content Officer at Franklin News Foundation, publisher of the Center Square Newswire service. New York's controversial new congestion pricing system is now underway in the Big Apple. Commuters entering Manhattan below 60th Street will pay inflated tolls in what officials say they hope will reduce tailpipe emissions. But the new tolls have its fair share of critics. Joining me to discuss this today is Sarah Roderick-Fitch, regional editor for the Center Square. Sarah, explain to our listeners what this congestion pricing scheme is all about.
Well, it has actually been in talks for several years now, going back multiple mayoral administrations in New York. And it was actually, it was planned to go ahead with it. And then in June, Governor Kathy Hochul put a pause on it, which at the time, a lot of people were, which it seems pretty clear it was sort of for political purposes because it was very unpopular. Unpopular with a lot of Republicans in districts surrounding New York and Long Island. There's some there were some competitive districts there, so it was put on hold at the time. And then right after the election, then it was lifted. But it was initially, I think it was going to be $15, and then she lowered it to $9. However, it is going to go up incrementally. I think by 2031, it'll be $15, kind of the base of it, for cars. And this is during peak. These are peak times. I believe it's 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. During weekdays and weeknights. And there's certain breaks and whatnot in place, for people with low income and how much you travel it. But it had also not just Republicans who were outraged by this, but there was a lot of Democratic pushback, including New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy. New Jersey had tried multiple lawsuits. They were against it, so their lawmakers were very much against it. There were some other Democrats in New York that were against it, but ultimately, really, what the problem is, and where this is stemming from, is low ridership with MTA within Manhattan's their transportation authority. And actually, it's Metropolitan Transportation Authority. Anyway, they have about a $33 billion budget gap that they need to fill, and that's kind of where a lot of that's where that money is coming from. And low ridership, and all of these, they need upgrades and whatnot for not just the subway system, but also busing and whatnot. And so this is sort of expected to bring in, I think, they're hoping to bring in about $15 billion to sort of to close that. In addition, they're trying to increase ridership because they're trying to put people back and, pushing them back into the, subway and bus systems, which there has been a little bit of an uptick since it took place. So, so there's a couple reasons why it took place.
Well, it's not just about congestion and emissions. It's a bit of a money grab.
Yes, it's definitely a money grab. It's definitely certainly a money grab, and they really haven't. I mean, that really honestly hasn't been. They haven't been hiding that fact, really. They made it very clear that this is one of the reasons why they need it. Of course, one of the reasons to say is, because of environmental reasons, tailpipe congestion, and tailpipe emissions and whatnot. But really, it's the main reason is money, obviously.
So commuters entering Manhattan for the right to get to Manhattan, whether it's for a job, for a tourist who just is tourists who are just visiting, you have to pay $9 every single time you enter Manhattan. You mentioned New Jersey's governor legally challenging it. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine these commuters, whether you're coming in from New Jersey or Maryland or Connecticut or what have you, mm-hmm. They're very happy about it. Particularly if you work, if you live in one of those regions and you work in Manhattan, you've got to go to work every single day. That's $9 a day. That's like nearly $50 a week.
Yes, and it is, and that's just sort of that's the sort of the starting point. If let's say you're a business, you have a business and you have, you have a truck, you need to, take supplies in or whatever each day, you're going to be paying up to, $21 going in. So, I mean, it hurts a lot of places because, you've got ports and whatnot, especially on the Jersey side that, you have to bring stuff in, into Manhattan, you have to import stuff. So yeah, it does hurt them. But also, another fact where there's been pushback too is within writers, not just the expense of it, but now it's sort of pushing people, to ride the subways, and there's
and those are safe, right?
Yes, that's
no problem with New York subway systems.
Subway stations. Just a few weeks ago, a woman was tragically burned alive on one of the subway cars there. And there's video of it, and even one of the police officers just kind of walked by. I mean, there's been several issues, and in that same time frame. A gentleman was just standing there and he was pushed onto the tracks. Miraculously, actually ended up surviving. But these are things that have been happening on the subway, not to mention that case, with where that chokehold, Daniel, I think it was Daniel Penny, right. That whole case. There's been so many instances of violence, and then, with homelessness and everything else in the subways. That has been a major issue. And so Republicans, some of the critics have brought that up too, is saying, well, you got to make the subway safer. People are not happy about that, as well as they're just not feeling safer. Although Governor Kathy Hochul and Eric Adams maintain that crime is going down, it's safer, but I think it's really difficult to calm sort of some of these concerns because of these instances that have happened. I mean, they've been so publicized, and that's really frightening. So when you hear, especially you have tourists that are coming in, or maybe they may not want to ride the subways because of that. It's been it's been very challenging trying to sell this, I think, with people. And President-elect Trump has been very much against it. And he is saying that he's going to, when he gets into office, that he is going to try to nix the whole plan. I'm not exactly sure how he can do that. But this was approved through the Department of Transportation. So perhaps there is, perhaps he can, have some leeway with that. But we'll see if he's successful in doing that as they move forward.
Sarah, thank you for joining us today. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com.